My fiancé posted about not settling for people below your league and threw my ring away, calling me just a wallet, so I simply liked her post. Months later, when I found someone better, she started claiming it was all just a joke for attention. My name is Blake, and I'm 28 years old. I work as a marketing coordinator at a mid-sized tech company here in San Diego. The pay is decent, not Silicon Valley money by any means, but comfortable enough to live well. I've been grinding in this field for 6 years since graduating college, and I'd built what I thought was a pretty solid foundation for my adult life. Over the years, I'd managed to save up a substantial emergency fund through careful budgeting and smart financial decisions. I even owned my downtown condo outright, no mortgage payments hanging over my head. My credit score was excellent, and I had all the trappings of what most people would consider a responsible, stable adult life, or at least that's what I believed at the time. For 5 years, I was in a relationship with my girlfriend Victoria, who was 27. We'd been living together for the last 3 years of our relationship, sharing what I thought was a genuine partnership. We first met at my buddy Connor's barbecue during the summer of 2019, and there was an instant attraction between us. She was working as a marketing coordinator at some startup downtown, making around $40,000 annually, significantly less than my income, but I never saw that as an issue. Victoria was absolutely stunning in that Instagram-ready way that turns heads wherever you go. She had long, flowing dark hair that always looked like she'd just stepped out of a salon, and her makeup game was absolutely flawless. Every outfit she wore looked like it belonged in a fashion magazine, perfectly coordinated and expensive looking. She had this expensive taste that unfortunately didn't quite match her paycheck, but I was head over heels in love and didn't care about the financial disparity between us. Looking back now, I realize that love really can make you incredibly stupid sometimes. Even from the very beginning of our relationship, there were red flags that I completely ignored or rationalized away. Victoria would make these subtle but cutting comments about different aspects of my lifestyle. She'd look at my Honda Civic with obvious disdain and ask, "When are you getting a real car?" When we'd spend time at my condo, she'd make remarks like, "It's so basic," while surveying my furniture and decor with barely concealed disappointment. She'd critique my wardrobe regularly, saying things like, "You dress like you're still in college." But here's the thing that made these comments so insidious. She would always follow them up with something sweet and affectionate. After delivering one of these little jabs, she'd immediately soften her voice and say something like, "I'm just trying to help you level up, babe," and then give me a kiss. It was classic manipulation, but I was completely blind to it at the time. I interpreted her criticism as caring guidance from someone who wanted to see me succeed. Over the course of our relationship, I found myself helping Victoria out financially far more than I probably should have. Since I made significantly more money, I covered most of our monthly rent, which was $800. When she broke down crying one evening about her crushing debt, I paid off her $28,000 in credit card bills without hesitation. She explained that she had a shopping addiction, constantly buying designer bags, expensive shoes, and clothes that she'd wear once for Instagram photos and then completely forget about. I also helped her lease a BMW because she convinced me that image matters in marketing, and that her beat-up Toyota was embarrassing for client meetings. At the time, it seemed like a reasonable investment in her career. But looking back, I can see how I was being manipulated into funding a lifestyle she couldn't afford on her own. The financial strain became even more evident when it came to our vacations. Victoria had expensive taste in travel, and somehow I always ended up footing the entire bill. We flew to Bali, which cost me $400 or $500 for both of us. Our Paris trip ran me $200, and the romantic getaway to Santorini set me back another $800. Every single penny came out of my savings while Victoria posed for endless Instagram photos. What really stung was how she presented these trips on social media. She'd post beautiful pictures of herself at exotic locations, talking about living her best life and feeling blessed to travel the world. She never tagged me in these posts, never mentioned who had actually paid for these expensive adventures. To her followers, she probably looked like some jet-setting influencer with unlimited resources. Meanwhile, I was back home eating ramen noodles for dinner and skipping lunch to save money, desperately trying to rebuild my savings account after each extravagant trip. Despite all of this financial stress, I kept telling myself it was worth it. Victoria was undeniably beautiful, socially confident, and she pushed me out of my comfort zone in ways that felt exciting at the time. When she'd hold my hand in public or post the occasional couple photo on her Instagram, I felt like the luckiest guy alive. I was completely addicted to the feeling of being chosen by someone who seemed so far out of my league. The validation was intoxicating, even as it was slowly draining my bank account and self-worth. Victoria was constantly dropping hints about marriage, but not in the sweet, romantic way you might expect from someone genuinely in love. Instead, her approach felt more like a performance review than expressions of affection. She would show me engagement rings constantly, always gravitating toward the most expensive options available. "This one's only $12,000, she'd say, as if that was somehow a reasonable or modest price point. She'd spend hours talking about wedding venues that cost more than my car was worth. The most telling sign of her priorities was her Pinterest board, which she'd created specifically for wedding planning. This thing was absolutely insane. I'm talking about a collection of over 500 wedding ideas that she'd curated with frightening attention to detail. She had sections dedicated to $50,000 dress budgets, destination weddings in Tuscany, and flower arrangements that cost more than most people's monthly salary. I should have recognized this as a massive red flag, but I was so desperate to make her happy that I saw it as goals to work toward, rather than warning signs of her unrealistic expectations. She would scroll through this Pinterest board while we watched Netflix together, making little comments designed to pressure me into action. "This is what I've always dreamed of," she'd say wistfully. Or, "I hope my future husband has good taste." The phrase future husband was particularly cutting. She never said, "when we get married," or included me directly in these fantasies. It was always about this hypothetical future husband who would magically provide everything she wanted. The hints about my proposal became increasingly direct and demanding over time. "I hope he's creative about it," she'd say, "not just some basic restaurant thing." She'd emphasize how important the ring was, explaining that it shows how much he really values you. The most manipulative comment of all was when she'd look at me with those big eyes and say, "I've been with you for years, Blake. Some of my friends got engaged way faster." The pressure was constant and subtle, like water slowly wearing down a rock until it crumbles. After months of this psychological campaign, I finally saved enough money for the $8,000 Tiffany ring she'd been eyeing. Getting to that point required 6 months of working overtime, packing lunches every single day, skipping social events with friends, and saving every penny I could possibly manage. I was terrified of disappointing her, of not living up to whatever elaborate fantasy she'd constructed in her head about how this moment should unfold. I decided to plan the proposal at Balboa Park, which held special significance for us since it was where we'd had our first official date 3 years earlier. I spent weeks coordinating every detail with various vendors, determined to make this moment absolutely perfect. I arranged for her favorite flowers, white roses, which cost me $200 just for the bouquet. I even hired a professional photographer to hide nearby and capture the moment, which set me back another $500. During my lunch breaks at work, I'd sit in my car practicing the speech I'd written, timing everything perfectly so it would happen right at sunset. The day of the proposal, I was an absolute nervous wreck. I kept the ring box in my jacket pocket, checking on it every 5 minutes like some kind of paranoid fool, terrified that it might somehow disappear. Victoria seemed oddly distant during our dinner beforehand, constantly checking her phone and giving me short, distracted answers to my attempts at conversation. I assumed she was just tired from a long day at work, but looking back now, I realize how wrong I was about what was really going on. We walked to our special spot overlooking San Diego Bay, just as the sun was beginning to set. The timing was absolutely perfect. Golden light was reflecting off the water, creating this magical, romantic atmosphere that looked like something out of a movie. I got down on one knee and pulled out the exact ring she'd pointed out to me multiple times, the one she'd screenshotted and sent to her friends with heart eye emojis. "Victoria," I began, my voice shaking with emotion, "you're the love of my life. These 5 years have been the absolute best of my life, and I want to spend forever making you as happy as you make me. Will you marry me?" She stared at the ring for what felt like an eternity. I'm talking about a full 30 seconds of complete silence while tourists began gathering around us with their phones out, expecting to witness something beautiful and romantic. Her expression slowly changed from initial surprise to something I couldn't quite read. Disappointment, confusion, maybe even disgust. I still don't fully understand what was going through her mind in that moment. "Blake, I can't," she finally said, her voice flat and emotionless. "I'm not ready. I need space to figure things out." It wasn't "let me think about it" or "this is so sudden" or even "can we talk about this?" It was just straight, cold rejection. The tourists who had gathered to witness what they thought would be a magical moment awkwardly dispersed, probably posting on their own social media about the proposal fail they'd just witnessed. I stayed on one knee for a few more seconds, my brain completely unable to process what had just happened. Then I slowly stood up, put the ring back in its box, and we walked to my car in complete, devastating silence. The 40-minute drive home was the longest of my entire life. Victoria stared out the passenger window the entire time, while I tried my best not to have a complete breakdown behind the wheel. I kept replaying the moment over and over in my head, trying to figure out what I had done wrong, what I could have said differently, how I had so completely misread our relationship. That weekend was a blur of Victoria packing her belongings and having awkward conversations about lease agreements and who would take what furniture. She methodically divided up our shared possessions, taking half of everything we'd accumulated together, including the expensive coffee maker I'd bought us for Christmas and the dining set that had come entirely from my savings account. By Sunday evening, she had moved out to stay with her friend Madison, who I'd always gotten weird vibes from but had never been able to put my finger on exactly why. 3 days after the most humiliating moment of my life, I was scrolling through Instagram, wallowing in self-pity like a pathetic loser, when Victoria posted something that felt like a knife to the gut. Know your worth, queens. Never settle for less than you deserve. The universe has bigger plans for you. Level up, boss life, know your value. The post got over 200 likes within hours, with comments full of her girlfriends hyping her up with messages like, "Yes, queen, you deserve everything," and "Don't settle, babe, and the right man will worship you." The entire comment section was a parade of heart-eye emojis, fire emojis, and crown emojis, all validation for publicly humiliating me and our 5-year relationship. I'm sitting there in my empty apartment, eating cereal for dinner like some kind of pathetic bachelor, thinking to myself, settle? I just offered this woman everything I had, my savings, my future, my whole heart, and somehow I'm something to settle for? The cognitive dissonance was absolutely staggering. So in a moment of petty impulse, I liked her post and then commented, "Thanks for the advice." She deleted my comment within 20 minutes, but not before several of our mutual friends had seen it and started texting me. The message was crystal clear. I was the problem she'd needed to escape from, the dead weight holding back her ascension to whatever fabulous life she thought she deserved. After Victoria left, I went into full monk mode. My entire existence became work, gym, and side projects. I deleted Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, every single app that might show me updates about her new and improved life without me. I started seeing my therapist twice a week because honestly, the rejection had messed with my head worse than I wanted to admit to anyone, including myself. The therapy sessions were absolutely brutal but completely necessary. We talked extensively about codependency and how I'd been bending myself into a pretzel trying to make Victoria happy for years. I realized I'd been living in a constant state of anxiety, always worried about whether I was doing enough, spending enough, being enough for her. I had developed this unhealthy relationship with money where I wasn't concerned about whether I could afford things for myself, but whether I could afford to make Victoria happy. It was an exhausting way to live. I started journaling, which sounds completely ridiculous for a grown man, but it actually helped more than I expected. I wrote down every single time I could remember ignoring my own needs to accommodate hers, and the list ended up being 3 pages long. There were countless times I'd skipped hanging out with friends because she wanted to go to expensive restaurants I couldn't afford. Times I'd worked overtime specifically to pay for her impulse purchases. Times I'd apologized for things that weren't remotely my fault, just to avoid conflict and keep the peace in our relationship. I also started working on a side project, freelance marketing consulting for small businesses. I figured if I was going to be single, I might as well build something for myself instead of funding someone else's unrealistic lifestyle expectations. I spent my nights and weekends learning new software, building client relationships, and actually enjoying the work instead of just seeing it as a paycheck to fund Victoria's dreams and aspirations. The gym became my therapy too. I started going at 6 a.m. before work, pushing myself through workouts that would have seemed impossible 6 months earlier when I was stressed and financially drained. I lost 15 pounds and gained actual muscle definition for the first time in my life. The best part was that I wasn't doing it to impress anyone or prove anything. I just wanted to feel strong again after feeling so powerless and inadequate in my relationship. About 4 months after the breakup, I attended a professional networking event downtown. This was something I never would have done while I was with Victoria because she thought these events were boring and preferred that I spend my evenings with her instead. For the first time in years, I was actually enjoying myself, talking shop with other marketers and feeling genuinely engaged with my professional community. That's when this girl approached me. "Excuse me, are you Blake?" she asked. "I think we have a mutual connection at Microsoft." Her name was Lily. She was 25, and she worked as a UX designer. She was cute in a completely natural, unpretentious way. No Instagram makeup, no designer clothes, just jeans and a sweater that probably came from Target. But when she smiled, her whole face lit up with genuine warmth, and she actually laughed at my terrible marketing jokes instead of rolling her eyes or checking her phone. We ended up talking for 2 hours about work stuff initially, but the conversation naturally evolved to books, random life observations, and shared interests. She paid for her own drinks without making a show of it, drove her own car, and had genuine opinions about things that didn't involve shopping or social media. When she mentioned that she was reading the same business book I'd just finished, I nearly fell over. Victoria's idea of reading had been scrolling through lifestyle blogs and influencer content. We exchanged numbers and grabbed coffee the following week. Lily paid for her own coffee without any fanfare or performative independence gestures. She didn't check her phone once during our entire conversation and seemed genuinely interested in hearing about my consulting work. This was a completely revolutionary concept after years of trying to decode Victoria's passive-aggressive hints about everything under the sun. "So what do you like to do for fun?" she asked during our coffee date, which seemed like such a simple question but completely caught me off guard. "Honestly, I'm still figuring that out," I replied, feeling more vulnerable than I'd expected. I just got out of a long relationship and I realized I don't actually know what I enjoy anymore. I spent so many years focused on what my ex wanted to do that I kind of lost track of my own interests. "That's really honest," Lily said, and I could tell she meant it. Most guys would just make something up to sound more interesting or put together. We took things extremely slowly, which was exactly what I needed. There was no rush, no pressure, no mind games or hidden agendas. Lily knew about my recent breakup and wasn't trying to be a rebound or compete with the ghost of my past relationship. We just clicked on a fundamental level and could talk about absolutely everything: work challenges, family dynamics, personal goals that didn't involve finding someone to fund our dreams and lifestyle aspirations. What impressed me most about Lily was that she had a legitimate 5-year plan that included career advancement, home ownership, and travel that she intended to pay for herself. She wasn't looking for someone to elevate her lifestyle or provide experiences she couldn't afford on her own. She was building her own life and looking for a genuine partner to share it with, not a financial sponsor for her ambitions. Around month 6 of dating Lily, my consulting business started gaining real traction in ways I hadn't expected. I landed a few small clients initially, then secured a bigger contract with a company that paid me $3,000 a month for ongoing marketing analysis and strategy. It wasn't anything crazy or life-changing, but that extra $2,000 to $3,000 monthly income was money that I could actually keep and invest in my future, instead of immediately spending on someone else's lifestyle maintenance. Lily was genuinely excited for my business success and even helped me design better presentation templates for client meetings. She celebrated the small wins with me without immediately suggesting ways to spend the newfound income. The contrast with Victoria's reactions was absolutely staggering. When I'd gotten my last promotion while we were together, Victoria's immediate response had been, "Great, now we can finally get that vacation rental in Cabo that I showed you." Lily's reaction to my business success was, "I'm so proud of you for building something yourself. Want to celebrate with takeout and Netflix?" Fast forward to about 2 months ago, and Lily and I are hiking our usual trail on mission trails, something Victoria never would have done because she didn't want to mess up her hair or get her expensive shoes dirty. We reached this beautiful overlook where you can see the entire city spread out below, and Lily suddenly stopped walking. "I love you, Blake," she said, turning to face me with this incredible smile. "Like, I really love you. I want to build a life with you, have adventures together, support each other's dreams and goals. Will you marry me?" She proposed to me. She said she knew exactly what she wanted and didn't see the point in playing games or waiting around for me to read her mind and figure out the perfect timing. I said yes without any hesitation, without calculating costs or worrying about whether I was enough for her, without second-guessing myself or analyzing whether I could afford to make her happy. It was just pure, uncomplicated happiness. We posted a simple engagement photo, just the two of us at the overlook, smiling genuinely at the camera. Her hands were visible, showing the modest ring I'd gotten her, something she'd specifically said she preferred because she wanted us to save money for experiences and our future home together, rather than spending it all on an expensive piece of jewelry. The caption was straightforward: "Adventure partner for life." The response was immediate and overwhelmingly positive. My family was absolutely thrilled, and I realized that they'd never really warmed up to Victoria the way I'd thought they had. Friends I hadn't heard from in months came out of the woodwork with congratulations and genuine excitement for our future. Coworkers were excited, and even my normally stoic dad called to tell me how happy Lily seemed to make me and how much more like myself I'd become since we'd been together. Then at 11 p.m. that same night, my phone rang. It was an unknown number, but something made me answer it anyway. "Blake?" I heard that familiar voice, and I knew immediately who it was. "Hey, Victoria," I said, my stomach dropping. "Are you kidding me right now?" Her voice was shaking with what sounded like pure rage. "Are you seriously engaged to some random girl?" Victoria continued, her voice trembling with barely contained fury. Congratulations would be nice, I replied, trying to keep my tone calm and measured. 8 months, Blake. 8 months and you're engaged to some random girl you barely know. Lily's not random, I said firmly. We work in complementary industries. We share the same values. We're compatible in ways that actually matter for a long-term relationship. And most importantly, she actually wants to marry me. We were together for 5 years, Victoria shot back, her voice getting higher and more hysterical. How could you just replace me like that? Like I meant nothing to you? The audacity was absolutely breathtaking. Replace you? You rejected me, remember? You said you needed space to figure things out. You told me you weren't ready for marriage. There was a long pause where I could hear her breathing heavily, clearly trying to compose herself or figure out what to say next. I didn't think you'd actually move on, she finally admitted, her voice smaller now. I thought you'd wait for me to work through my stuff and figure out what I wanted. Wait for what exactly? I asked, genuinely confused by her logic. Another pause, and then she started crying. Not sad crying, but frustrated, angry crying like a child who wasn't getting her way. I needed to explore my options, okay? She said through her tears. Madison kept showing me all these successful guys she was meeting through work and dating apps. Entrepreneurs making 6 figures, finance guys with actual ambition, real estate developers building empires. She said I was too young to settle for my first serious relationship without seeing what else was out there. I actually laughed out loud at this revelation. So I was your backup plan. No, I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing out on something better, she continued, her voice becoming more defensive. I thought if I dated around for a year and experienced what else was available, then I'd know for sure you were the right choice. I would have come back to you eventually. By humiliating me publicly and calling our relationship settling, I pointed out. I didn't mean it like that, she protested weakly. Madison just showed me all these articles about women who married their college boyfriends and always wondered, what if? She said successful women explore their options before committing to make sure they don't have regrets later. So instead, you wanted me to wait around like a chump while you went shopping for an upgrade, I said, my anger finally starting to surface. It wasn't like that, she insisted, but her voice lacked conviction. Most of the guys you met were total jerks anyway, she added quietly. Most of them? I caught that immediately. Silence stretched between us, and then she said quietly, the dating scene is horrible, Blake. These guys just want hookups, or they're complete losers pretending to be successful on their profiles. Half of them still live with roommates or their parents despite claiming to be entrepreneurs. The successful ones are arrogant jerks who treat women like accessories or status symbols. I realized what we had was special, she continued, her voice taking on a pleading tone. Had, past tense, I corrected her. We can fix this, she said desperately. You're just hurt and trying to make me jealous with this rebound girl. I get it. I hurt your ego when I rejected your proposal. But we can work through this if you're mature about it and willing to forgive me. Lily's not a rebound, she's an upgrade, I said flatly, in every possible way. That's when Victoria really lost it. An upgrade? She's a freaking nobody. I stalked her LinkedIn profile. She's just some basic UX designer making probably $70,000 a year. I saw her Instagram too. She shops at Target and takes hiking selfies. She's completely ordinary. I'm the one who pushed you to be better, she continued, her voice getting more shrill. Who motivated you to succeed and reach for something greater than mediocrity? You mean the one who drained my savings account and made me feel like nothing I did was ever enough for you? I shot back. Lily supports my dreams and ambitions. This is insane, Blake, Victoria said, her voice cracking. You don't know her like you know me. You're making a huge mistake marrying some random girl after only 8 months. The mistake was thinking someone who saw me as a backup plan actually loved me. I replied, I did love you, I do love you, she insisted desperately. When you realize what you've thrown away and come crawling back, I won't be waiting for you. Good, because I'll be too busy being happy with someone who chose me first, I said, and then I hung up the phone. I immediately felt lighter, like a weight I'd been carrying for months had just evaporated. But Victoria and her friend Madison weren't done with their campaign to disrupt my new relationship. The next day, Lily showed me a series of messages that Madison had sent her on Instagram. The audacity of what I read was absolutely staggering. Hey girl, just wanted to give you a heads up about Blake, Madison had written. I'm friends with his ex, Victoria, and honestly, he's totally using you to make her jealous. He was obsessed with her and wouldn't leave her alone after she said she needed time to think about marriage. He's been stalking her social media constantly, and now he's love-bombing you for revenge. You seem really sweet, and I just thought you should know what you're getting into before you get in too deep. Lily showed me the message, and we both started laughing at how transparent and desperate it was. She responded with perfect grace. Thanks for the concern, though I'm curious why you're so invested in my relationship with someone you barely know. How's Victoria's dating life going? Found any of those upgrades yet? Madison blocked her immediately after that response. But Victoria and Madison weren't finished with their campaign to sabotage my happiness. Suddenly, friends who hadn't texted me in months were reaching out with weirdly specific concerns about my relationship. My buddy from college called me up. Dude, heard about the engagement. Pretty fast, don't you think? You sure you're not just trying to prove something or get back at Victoria? My cousin reached out to my mom saying, Victoria's worried that Blake's making impulsive decisions to hurt her. Maybe he should slow things down and really think about this. A coworker mentioned casually, heard you're engaged. That's awesome, man. Victoria seems really upset about it, though. Maybe you should give her some closure so she can move on properly. Even my freaking barber, asked if I was sure I wasn't rushing into things. The audacity was absolutely breathtaking. These people hadn't checked on me when Victoria destroyed my self-worth and left me eating cereal for dinner in an empty apartment, but now they were suddenly concerned about my happiness and decision-making. I started asking follow-up questions whenever someone expressed these concerns. Did Victoria reach out to you directly about this? The answer was always yes. She was running a full-scale PR campaign, painting herself as the concerned ex-girlfriend who just wanted what was best for me, while portraying me as a heartbroken guy making rash decisions to spite her. 2 weeks after that phone call, Lily's friend Amy sent her some screenshots that completely changed everything. Amy had been swiping through Bumble when she recognized Victoria from Lily's social media stories about our drama. What she discovered was absolutely devastating. Victoria had created her dating profile 6 months before she rejected my proposal. Her bio read, marketing professional looking for ambitious partners. Only swipe right if you know your worth and want to level up together. No time for mediocrity. Seeking someone who matches my energy and lifestyle goals. She'd been shopping for my replacement while wearing the promise ring I'd given her for our 4th anniversary. But the screenshots Amy sent were even more damning than just the existence of the profile. These were actual conversations Victoria had been having with matches, going back months before my proposal. Just got out of a long relationship and ready to date high-value men who know what they want, she'd told one match. My ex was sweet but lacked real ambition. Need someone who can provide the lifestyle I deserve. To another guy. Currently single and exploring my options. Looking for someone established, preferably in finance or tech. One conversation from 3 weeks before my proposal showed her telling some guy, my boyfriend might propose soon, but I'm waiting to see what kind of ring he gets me. That'll tell me everything I need to know about his priorities and how much he actually values me. She was going to judge our entire 5-year relationship based on how much I spent on a ring, but here's the absolute kicker. Her profile was still active. It had been updated just 3 days earlier with new photos and an evolved bio. Phoenix rising, fire queen energy only, crown emoji, ready for my king. The photos were recent too. I recognized the dress from an Instagram post she'd made the week before. She was still actively shopping for someone better while simultaneously trying to manipulate me into taking her back. That night, Victoria texted me from a new number. Blake, I've been doing a lot of thinking. I'm willing to forgive you for this rebound thing if we can start over. I understand you needed to feel wanted after I hurt you. We can work through this if you're mature about it. What we had was real. She was willing to forgive me. The woman who had been actively dating other men while we were together, who had humiliated me publicly, who had treated our relationship like a business transaction, was graciously offering to forgive me for moving on and finding happiness. I screenshot that text message and every single dating app conversation Amy had sent me. Then I reactivated my Instagram account for the first time in 8 months and made a post that would change everything. When someone shows you who they are, believe them, I wrote. Grateful for the lessons and even more grateful for someone who chose me first. PSA. If you're going to keep shopping while in a relationship, maybe don't leave receipts on dating apps. Lily, thanks for actually wanting to marry me. Know your worth, choose wisely. I attached screenshots of Victoria's dating profile and select conversations with other guys, making sure to blur out their names and photos to protect their privacy. My phone absolutely exploded within minutes of posting. Friends who'd been getting Victoria's manipulated version of events finally saw the truth. The comments came fast and furious. Holy crap, dude, she was cheating the whole time? Wait, she was actively dating while you were together? Bro, I'm so sorry, we had no idea she was manipulating the story. Lily seems amazing, congrats, man. Victoria really thought she could do better. Her loss. The audacity of her texting you about forgiveness. The post got hundreds of shares, and I received DMs from people I hadn't heard from in years, all offering messages of support and congratulations. But more importantly, our mutual friends started sharing their own screenshots, revealing that Victoria had been telling everyone different versions of our breakup, each one carefully designed to make her look like the victim in the situation. Victoria's response was swift and absolutely nuclear. After my post went up, she went into full damage control mode, posting a series of Instagram stories over the next 3 days about toxic masculinity and emotional manipulation. She claimed that I was weaponizing social media and gaslighting her into looking like the bad guy when she was actually the victim. Some people can't handle being told the truth about themselves, she wrote in one story. When someone shows their true colors, believe them. Toxic masculinity at its finest. Manipulation tactics 101, survivor mode activated. The girl who had been secretly shopping for upgrades while we were together was now calling me manipulative for exposing her behavior. But here's where Victoria made her fatal mistake. Madison, seeing the tide turn against them and her own reputation getting dragged down with Victoria's sinking ship, decided to save herself by throwing Victoria completely under the bus. She sent me a direct message that started with, "I can't keep lying for her anymore." What followed was the most devastating evidence dump I could have possibly imagined. Madison sent me screenshots of their private group chat going back 2 full years, voice messages of Victoria absolutely trashing me, our relationship, and our future together. There were screenshots of Victoria stalking other guys' social media profiles and rating their potential as partners. And then came the piece de resistance, a freaking Excel spreadsheet. Victoria and Madison had created a detailed spreadsheet that they called the husband hunt, and it ranked guys by multiple categories: income potential, physical attractiveness, husband material, lifestyle upgrade factor, and long-term investment value. The spreadsheet had 20 different guys on it, and I was listed as current BF Blake. My detailed analysis read like a performance review from hell. Financial stability, 8 out of 10. Steady income but not spectacular. Physical attractiveness, 6 out of 10. Average, could improve with better clothes and gym membership. Husband potential, 7 out of 10. Reliable, good family man material. Lifestyle upgrade factor, 5 out of 10. Basic condo, Honda Civic, no luxury mindset. Long-term investment, 6 out of 10. Safe choice but limited upside potential. My overall ranking was number 13 out of 20 guys. The notes section was absolutely brutal. Marketing guy, reliable income but boring personality. Lives in basic condo, no ambition for luxury lifestyle. Good for now, but probably not endgame material. Needs major image overhaul to be trophy husband material. Sweet, but lacks the edge I need long term. The guy ranked number 1 was some cryptocurrency entrepreneur named Chad who claimed to make $500,000 a year and drove a Lamborghini. The spreadsheet showed months of research into his background, his LinkedIn profile, Instagram analysis, even screenshots of his apartment from his dating app photos. Victoria had been planning to dump me for him. But here's the beautiful irony that made this whole thing even more perfect. 2 weeks before my proposal, Chad's cryptocurrency portfolio had crashed. It turned out he was living in his mother's basement, trading crypto with his student loan money. The Lamborghini was rented specifically for his dating app photos. When Victoria discovered this, she had moved me up in the rankings from number 13 to number 8. Guy number 2 was a real estate mogul who turned out to be a part-time realtor working at his dad's agency, still paying off his own starter home. Guy number 3 was a startup founder whose company consisted of 3 guys working out of a WeWork space with no revenue and no investors. When her top choices fell through one by one, suddenly I started looking better to her. But I still wasn't good enough to say yes to immediately when I proposed. She wanted to keep shopping while maintaining me as her safety net. The spreadsheet contained absolutely everything you could imagine and more. There were dates of conversations, detailed financial research on each guy, comprehensive pros and cons lists, and even strategic plans for testing guys' financial commitment through expensive date suggestions. They had been treating human beings like stock portfolios, complete with risk assessments and projected returns on investment. Some of the other entries were laugh-out-loud ridiculous when you really looked at their research. Dr. Boyfriend, high income but too many work hours, wouldn't be available for travel and social events. Lawyer guy, good money but boring personality, talks about work too much. Tech startup bro, claims pre-IPO equity worth millions but probably complete BS. Madison sent all of this devastating evidence with a message that read, "I can't keep lying for her anymore. She's been using everyone, including me. She made me help her research these guys and I feel horrible about it now. She never loved you, Blake. You were just a placeholder while she auditioned your replacement. Good luck with Lily, she seems amazing and you deserve so much better." I stared at my phone for an entire hour, processing what I was seeing. 5 years of my life had been reduced to a spreadsheet ranking where I came in 13th place for lifestyle potential. Every time I'd felt insecure about not being enough for her, every time she'd made subtle comments about my potential, she had been literally grading me against other options like I was a car she was thinking about trading in for a better model. I forwarded everything to my group chat with my college friends, then to my family members, and then I made the decision that would completely end Victoria's world as she knew it. I posted the relevant screenshots, with all the other guys' names and photos carefully blurred out to protect their privacy, on social media with this caption: "Ladies and gentlemen, I present the husband hunt. Apparently I ranked number 13 in lifestyle potential and was noted as good for now but not endgame material. This is the spreadsheet my ex and her friend created while she was wearing my promise ring and planning our future together. But hey, at least I made the top 15. The spreadsheet girl dodged a bullet. Know your worth, everyone." The internet went absolutely nuclear within hours. My post had hundreds of shares, thousands of comments, and DMs from complete strangers. People were tagging their friends, sharing it to their own stories, and commenting things like, "This is the most insane thing I've ever seen." Someone made it into a TikTok video that got 2.3 million views with the caption, "When you find out your ex had a literal spreadsheet rating you against other men." Victoria's Instagram got absolutely flooded with comments from strangers calling her every name in the book. Imagine being this calculating about love. This is literal psychopath behavior. Poor Blake, he deserves so much better than this. The audacity to rank human beings like objects. Victoria really thought she was the prize here. She started losing followers by the hundreds every hour. Friends began distancing themselves from her when they discovered that some of them had also been ranked on secondary spreadsheets for backup options and networking value. Her job found out about the whole situation when someone sent screenshots to her company's HR department, and they called her in for a meeting about social media conduct that was unbecoming of company values. But the real karma was just beginning to unfold. Fast forward 6 months from that moment, and my life had completely transformed. I'm engaged to Lily, my consulting business is now pulling in $8,000 a month in steady income, and I just got promoted to senior marketing coordinator with a $25,000 annual raise. Lily and I bought a house together, a real house with a yard and space for the future we're building together. Life is genuinely good for the first time in years, and I wake up every day grateful for how everything turned out. Then I got a call from an unknown number. "Blake, it's Victoria," came that familiar voice. But it sounded completely different now, smaller, desperate, stripped of all the confident, demanding tone I remembered. "Please don't hang up." "What do you want, Victoria?" I asked, genuinely curious about why she was calling. "I need your help," she said, and I could hear that she was fighting back tears. "I know I don't deserve it after everything I did to you, but I'm in real trouble, and you're the only person I can think of who might—" She started crying then. Real, desperate crying, not the manipulative crocodile tears I remembered from our relationship. "I lost my job," she continued through her sobs. "I can't find another one anywhere. I had to move back in with my parents. Blake, I've lost everything, and I don't know what to do anymore." It turns out that karma is absolutely real, and she's ruthlessly efficient when she decides to collect on old debts. After our drama went viral across multiple social media platforms, Victoria's life imploded in the most spectacular fashion imaginable. Her company fired her exactly 2 weeks after the HR meeting. Officially, it was for violating social media policies and bringing negative attention to the company. But everyone knew it was really because the spreadsheet made them look absolutely terrible in the eyes of potential clients. Several clients had started asking uncomfortable questions about that psycho marketing girl they'd seen trending online, and the company decided she was too much of a liability to keep employed. She couldn't find another marketing job anywhere in San Diego, or really anywhere else for that matter. Every HR department in the city had seen the viral posts about the woman who treated relationships like business transactions. One recruiter actually told her friend that Victoria's name had become radioactive in professional circles. Who wants to hire someone who's known for treating personal relationships like calculated investments and ranking people like commodities? Her landlord refused to renew her lease after other tenants complained about the constant parade of random guys from dating apps coming and going at all hours. Apparently, after losing her job, she had ramped up her husband hunting activities to an almost manic level, thinking she could find someone successful enough to support her lifestyle while she figured out her next career move. But here's where the irony becomes absolutely beautiful. Madison, seeing Victoria's life fall apart in real time and realizing that her own reputation was getting dragged down with Victoria's sinking ship, decided to completely throw her former best friend under the bus to save herself. Madison published a long, detailed Instagram post about toxic friendships and manipulation, revealing that the entire spreadsheet concept had been Victoria's idea from the beginning, and that she had been pressured to help against her better judgment. She claimed she had tried to talk Victoria out of it multiple times, but was manipulated into participating. But Madison didn't stop there. She included screenshots of Victoria calling their mutual friends basic bitches and saying they were settling for scraps behind their backs. She exposed Victoria's detailed plans to upgrade from me, her cold calculations about my lifetime earning potential, and her elaborate strategies for keeping me as a backup option while she shopped around for something better. I stayed silent too long about my former friend's behavior, Madison wrote in her post. She's not the victim she's portraying herself as on social media. She calculated and manipulated her way through relationships, treating people like investments instead of human beings. I apologized to everyone she hurt, especially Blake, who deserved so much better than what she put him through. Victoria lost her entire social circle overnight. The girls who used to hype her up in the comments section of every post now wanted absolutely nothing to do with her. She was completely isolated, watching her former life crumble from her childhood bedroom in her parents' house, probably staring at the same pink walls she'd grown up with. I've been applying for jobs for 4 months, she continued, crying into the phone. But every time they Google my name, they find all the posts about the spreadsheet. I'm completely blacklisted from marketing. I've tried retail, food service, anything I can think of, but someone always recognizes me as spreadsheet girl, and I get let go within a few days. That's rough, I said, genuinely not feeling even an ounce of sympathy for her situation. Blake, I know you work in marketing and you have connections and professional credibility, she continued desperately. Could you maybe put in a good word for me somewhere? Or help me figure out how to get all these posts taken down from the internet? I'm desperate. I'll do anything. The audacity was absolutely breathtaking and almost impressive in its shamelessness. The woman who had ranked me number 13 in lifestyle potential, who had humiliated me publicly at what should have been the happiest moment of our relationship, who had been actively shopping for my replacement while planning our future together, was now asking me to save her career and reputation. Why would I do that? I asked, genuinely curious about her reasoning. Because you're a good person, she said, her voice taking on that manipulative tone I remembered so well. Because we had 5 years together that meant something real. Because I'm begging you, and I've never begged anyone for anything in my entire life. You had 5 years to treat me like I actually mattered to you, I replied calmly. Instead, you treated me like option number 13 on your little spreadsheet while you auditioned my replacement. I made a terrible mistake, she said, crying harder now. I was young and stupid, and Madison filled my head with garbage about leveling up and finding someone better. I see now that you were the best thing that ever happened to me. You were stable, kind, reliable, everything I actually needed in my life. No, Victoria, I corrected her. I was the most convenient thing that happened to you. There's a big difference between those two things. Please, Blake, I'll do anything. I'm broke. I'm living with my parents like I'm 16 years old again. Nobody will hire me anywhere. I'm sorry, okay? I'm really, really sorry for everything I did to you. You're not sorry for what you did, I said, finally understanding the situation completely. You're sorry you got caught doing it. You're sorry it backfired on you. If that crypto bro hadn't turned out to be a fraud living in his mother's basement, you would have dumped me for him without a second thought and never looked back. That's not true, she protested weakly, but her voice lacked any real conviction. I saw the messages, Victoria. I saw the entire spreadsheet with all your detailed analysis. You called me mediocre. You said I was good for now, but not endgame material. You made charts and graphs rating me against other men like I was a car you were thinking about trading in for a newer model. There was a long silence on the other end of the line, and then she said quietly, I was wrong. I was so incredibly wrong about everything. You were amazing, and I threw it all away chasing some fantasy that didn't even exist. Please, I need your help. For old time's sake. You know what? You're right about one thing, I said, feeling oddly calm about the whole situation. I am a good person, which is exactly why I'm going to give you some free advice that might actually help you. Really? She asked, and I could hear the hope creeping into her voice. Learn to code. Tech companies are always hiring developers, and it's one of the few industries where your past social media drama won't automatically disqualify you. Start with Python, build some projects to show your skills, and apply for junior developer roles. You're smart enough to figure it out if you actually apply yourself instead of looking for shortcuts. Blake, please, she said, her voice becoming desperate again. I can't start over at entry level making $40,000 a year. I need something that pays enough to get my life back on track. You need to accept that actions have consequences, I interrupted her. You burned everything down while chasing something better than what you had. Now you get to live in the ashes you created for yourself. What about Madison? She asked. grasping for any excuse. She's the one who manipulated me into all of this. She filled my head with all these ideas about finding someone better. Madison didn't make you create that spreadsheet, I replied firmly. Madison didn't make you shop for my replacement while wearing the ring I gave you. Madison didn't make you humiliate me publicly or treat our entire relationship like a business transaction. You're 27 years old, Victoria. Take some responsibility for your own choices. So that's it? She asked, her voice turning bitter. You're just going to let me suffer? You're going to watch me lose everything? I'm not letting you do anything, I said. You did this to yourself, and I'm just not cleaning up the mess you made. That's not my job anymore. The Blake I knew wouldn't be this cruel, she said, trying one last manipulation tactic. The Blake you knew was a pushover who let you walk all over him while draining his savings and self-worth, I replied. I learned something important from our relationship, too. I learned what I'm actually worth, and it's definitely not being someone's backup plan while they auditioned my replacement. I hung up the phone and immediately called Lily, who was at her own apartment packing for our weekend trip to Vancouver that we'd been planning for weeks. How did it go? She asked when I told her about Victoria's call. Better than I expected, actually, I said, feeling lighter than I had in months. She wanted me to save her career and get her life back on track. Are you going to help her? Lily asked, though I could tell from her tone that she already knew the answer. Absolutely not, I replied without hesitation. She made her bed with Egyptian cotton sheets she couldn't afford, and now she gets to lie in it. Lily laughed at that. That's my fiancé, the one with actual boundaries and self-respect. She kept saying I was being cruel for not helping her, I continued. You know what's cruel? Lily responded. Rating your boyfriend number 13 on a spreadsheet while he's working overtime to save for your dream ring. You're not responsible for fixing what she broke, Blake. 2 weeks later, I heard through my college buddy that Victoria had moved back to her hometown in Ohio. Apparently, her parents had grown tired of supporting their adult daughter and given her an ultimatum. Get any job available or find somewhere else to live. The last I heard, she's working retail at Target making $12 an hour and living in a studio apartment above a pizza place. Madison moved to Los Angeles, changed her name on all her social media platforms, and completely scrubbed her online presence to start fresh. Apparently, she realized that being associated with the husband hunt scandal was going to follow her around indefinitely if she stayed in San Diego.